as they get ready to provide more assistance in Ukraine's defense against Russia.
Speaking at the NATO summit in Washington, Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said the 32 members of the alliance are going to be spending 40 billion euros. That's about 43 billion American dollars to help bolster the defense of Ukraine in the next year. Also, cynics have been saying Ukraine will never be able to join NATO, but Stoltenberg said,
as Ukraine continues its vital reforms, we will continue to support them on their irreversible path to NATO membership.
Russia's been demanding that Ukraine drop its effort to join NATO as a condition of peace.
Fox's Jill Nato in Washington. As support for President Biden's reelection bid appears to wane from within his own party, White House National Security Council Communications Coordinator John Kirby says the president's mind is made up.
He did make his decision, and he made it crystal clear to everybody that he's running for re-election.
The president is expected to meet with Senate Democrats tomorrow. Parts of California dealing with an early wildfire season with a fire in Santa Barbara County scorching nearly 29,000 acres.
We're already experiencing a disproportionately high number of acres burned, not fires started.
Governor Gavin Newsom, this as much of the West is dealing with record high temperatures. Las Vegas in its fifth consecutive day of temperatures reaching 115 degrees or higher. Officials in Houston say it could take several more days to fully restore power after Hurricane Beryl slammed into Texas, leaving millions without air conditioning in soaring temperatures. The House passing a measure that would require proof of U.S. citizenship for voter registration, though it's not expected to survive in the Senate. America is listening to Fox News.
Our daughter Jessie loves playing
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
They were found at a motel. I'm Harrison Silcox. Here's what's trending this hour. Willie and Jessica Terrell were arrested in Texas Tuesday after a standoff outside of a motel in Pearsall near San Antonio. Police say they abducted 3 kids they no longer had custody of.
And they will work to get those children transferred safely from there to here.
IMPD Officer Tommy Thompson, the kids' grandfathers who had custody, all 3 were taken while having a scheduled lunch with their biological parents last week. The John Durham Memorial Interstate sign is just one way to keep the memory of the fallen Marion County Sheriff's deputy alive, says Democrat State Rep Mitch Gore.
John made a promise to his community that he would serve us and protect us. And, we've made a promise that we would remember him. And he kept his, and we intend to keep ours.
Gore helped create the sign, which represents a mile stretch of I-74 near the Acton Road exit. That piece of I-74 is right next to property owned by the Durham family. And the Indiana Fever lost Wednesday, but Caitlin Clark still put on a show. John Herrick reports.
In one of the plays she made, she did this.
And another turnover, and Clark beats the pack back.
The call on NBA TV. Clark scored 29 points and grabbed 13 rebounds in the 89-84 defeat, but she became the first WNBA player to have at least 25 points, 10 assists, 5 rebounds, 5 steals, and at least 5 made three-pointers in one game. This loss snapped the Fever's 5-game home winning streak. They get Phoenix on Friday night.
On the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com. Here's the forecast from the American Standard Cooling Weather Center.
As we move into Wednesday evening, the winds will slow down to out of the west at only 5 to 10 miles per hour. Partly cloudy skies will be around, and there may still be a stray shower or thunder shower possible. Chance of that, 15%. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Drew Narsutis for 93 WIBC.
If you can't get a good night's sleep, let me ask you, are you breathing well? Because if you're snoring or waking up each night with a stuffed up nose, or frustrated with your CPAP mask, the root of your sleep problem lies in your breathing triangle. And if any one of those passages isn't working, you won't sleep well. And there's no mattress, pill, or other gimmick that can fix that. I'm Dr. Madan Kandula. A recipe for a good night's sleep starts with an open airway. Now, there are devices that can help solve snoring or sleep apnea problems. If you walk into a sleep center, know you'll walk out with a CPAP. And you might find other options elsewhere. But the simple truth is, if your nose doesn't work properly, no device will help. Only at Advent will you find every effective snoring and sleep apnea solution, along with a world-class team that can get your nose working properly again.
Go to adventknows.com to schedule your appointment, because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better.
Hey, Pat Sullivan here, letting you know that when you need plumbing help, call who I call, my friends at Hope Plumbing. Not only are they experts in their field who respect the true value of customer service, they also love giving back to this community, which is evident in their referral program. If you refer a friend, Hope Plumbing will give you a $50 gift card to a local restaurant. Great plumbing and supporting local restaurants. What more could you ask for? Visit hopeplumbing.com or give them a call at 641-HOPE. Tune in Saturdays 9 to 1 for the Home and Garden Show for advice and fun, brought to you by Michaelis. Water, storms, fire, and wet basements. Life happens. Michaelis happens to help you through it.
You let him try violin because you love him. And if you love him that much, love him enough to make sure he's buckled up and in the back seat. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Find the path to recovery that works for you. Learn more at cdc.gov/stop-overdose.
Tony Katz.
It's Kendall and Casey.
The Amber and Nigel show. All right, when does your show start? Do we know? I feel like I've been promoting this for 9 years now.
This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Well, it is a beautiful evening in this part of the country, and as stormy weather pounds the eastern coast of the United States, so too does it storm the very halls of Congress and the rest of Washington, D.C., because President Biden, who everyone was so stalwartly in line with just a few months prior, who were ready to deny anything and everything at the behest of the great fact-checker institutions, well, ladies and gentlemen, they are all scurrying like rats. Or like cockroaches that are not in New York City. I'm not talking about the New York City cockroaches that like look at you when you turn on the lights. I'm talking about first time in the house cockroaches scurry everywhere when the light comes on. That is what is happening to Biden's allies, because as the president's condition continues to deteriorate in NATO meetings, as he tries to campaign around the country, as he mumbles and jumbles his way through even the most scripted of in the early morning MSNBC Morning Joe phone calls, Biden's allies have come to the conclusion that it is no longer salvageable to even get him to the Democrat National Convention coming up in August in Chicago. So first and foremost, he's lost George Clooney. Now, I know that many of you out there recognize that George Clooney is one of the most intelligent members of politics of all time, probably. Given that he owns a spy satellite that he uses to appease his wife's need to interfere in the Middle East. None of that's a joke, by the way. That's actually true. George Clooney is a major Democrat ally, a major donor, and he hosted that fundraiser. Remember, he was the headliner for that big fundraiser with Bill Clinton and Barack Obama, and they raised 10 or so millions of dollars for Joe Biden. And there was this video that was taken by a guy from The Hollywood Reporter, a publication that, as you might have guessed, is on the left, and it showed the President of the United States freezing. So if you're watching the live stream on YouTube or Twitter X, you can see this. If not, just standing there, frozen. Obama finally grabs his arm, starts leading him away. They start walking off slowly together. So many on the conservative side of media, they pointed this out and they said, yikes, this is rather problematic that the President of the United States is frozen on stage, more evidence of his aggressive dementia. And then the media came out, and we'll get into this a little bit later. All of the fact checkers swept down and declared that it was a cheap fake. They can't call it a deep fake or even a fake because the footage is indeed real. It was published by a reporter on the left side of the aisle. But that didn't stop Karine Jean-Pierre from coming out and telling everyone, this didn't happen. It was a magical mystery, a right-wing conspiracy.
There seems to be a sort of rash of videos that have been edited to make the president appear especially frail or mentally confused. I'm wondering if the White House is especially worried about the fact that this appears to be a pattern that we're seeing more of often.
Yeah, and I think you all have called this the cheap fakes video, and that's exactly what they are. They are cheap fakes video. They are done in bad faith, and some of your news organization have been very clear, have stressed that these the right-wing critics of the president have a credibility problem.
And 2 weeks later, it turned out that all of those videos were true, because you cannot, according to the president campaign's own rules, getting on CNN, in which two very pro-Biden moderators hosted a debate in which President Biden hung himself out to dry and forgot himself on the line. That now, well, it turns out that maybe that wasn't such a cheap fake video after all. According to an op-ed by George Clooney in the New York Times, which is a sentence that is rather strange to say, he said that the Biden he saw during the June 15th fundraiser, which also included former President Barack Obama, quote, was not the Joe Big Effing Deal Biden of 2010. He wasn't even the Joe Biden of 2020. He was the same man we all witnessed at the debate. Huh. So it turns out that, I know this is going to shock just everyone out there, just going to blow everyone's minds that, Karine Jean-Pierre is a bold-faced liar, and that the President of the United States is just dead at this point. And now, to make matters worse, James Comer, chairman of the House Oversight Committee, has now subpoenaed 3 of the White House senior aides, Anthony Bernal, Annie Tomasini, and Ashley Williams, as part of an investigation into the President Joe Biden's health and cognitive state. And for those out there that might be suggesting, well, they don't have any authority to just bring people in front of Congress. Yes, they do. The legislative branch of the United States, the U.S. Congress, has the authority to bring the president and any member of the executive branch before the House of Representatives to various committees to gain an understanding, context, to gain rationale and reasoning for actions or behaviors that have taken place in the executive branch, and whether those are beholden to the American legal system as well as its entire framework from the U.S. Constitution. And it's really starting to look like Mene Mene Tekel Tekel, the Hebraic text that was written on the wall saying that you have been weighed in the scales and found wanting. The Biden campaign has been weighed. It has been measured in the eyes of this race, and it's been found grossly wanting. According to national polls, which are not getting any better, even the furthest to the left polls now have Trump not only leading Biden by several points in the national polls, but according to a Redfield-Wilton poll this morning, actually included Trump versus Harris, Kennedy and the Libertarian Party's Oliver. Trump is up 44 to Harris's 37. So even if we do swap out Biden for Kamala Harris, which is the only way the campaign can keep the money, it's not looking good. And this perhaps is played into losing not only major celebrity donor friends, as we've already outlined, but also now not just a few House Democrats, but the big dogs themselves. So, according to a new report by Axios, and this was just broke about an hour ago from Hans Nichols and Stephen Newcomb, Schumer is now open, this would be Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, is now open to dumping Biden in 2024. So, Schumer hasn't indicated who, if anyone, might be a more viable candidate than Biden yet. However, Schumer is now actively taking calls from donors, from industry insiders, on how on earth they can get rid of Biden. And not just Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, but House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. According to Andy Greer over at CNN, it's amazing how the media just suddenly has all of these sources ready to go once Biden is finally ready to be thrown under the bus. A couple of weeks ago, the media was asking Karine, well, aren't these cheap, fake, deep fake videos edited in a very mean and capricious fashion? And now the media has come for blood. According to Andy Greer, she says, Hakeem Jeffries has told House Democrats in meetings this week, including today being July 10th, that he is going to relay the concerns he's hearing to Biden. So, a couple of days ago, Jeffries came out and was all ready to back Biden, ready to come out and support him. Well, now we're kind of putting some feelers out there. it seems that the excuse, well, the voters in the primary system voted and it's very democratic. There were no other candidates that were allowed to be on the ballots in most of the states. The DNC crowned Biden king before they considered he might not live to Election Day. And speaking of living past Election Day, even George Stephanopoulos, who just hosted that interview with Biden, told just a random passerby on the streets of New York, according to a video from TMZ, he doesn't even think Biden is going to live over the next 4 years.
Hey, excuse me. Hey, how you doing? Good. What do you think? Do you think Biden should step down? You talked to him more than anybody else have lately. And you can be honest. You don't think he can serve 4 more years? All right. That's an answer.
There you go. TMZ released the footage. So you've got major anchors and allies of the Biden administration, which at this point are saying, I don't think he's even going to live for another 4 years. And so we have a very serious situation, not just in the national polls, but in the swing states as well. Georgia, Arizona, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, according to Polymarket, are now leaning very heavily into the red zone. For Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and Michigan, that is extreme nightmare territory because Biden likely needs 2 out of those 3, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, in order to get to 270. Now, of course, the savior of all of these things is Vice President Kamala Harris, who decided that what really needs to happen right now is she needs to go visit the U.S. Olympic basketball team. This is why no one likes Kamala.
You all represent the best of the best, as you know. And in being Team USA, it is about representing our nation. You are, as you are every day on and off the court, ambassadors for who we are as a country. You represent leaders in every walk of life.
So she prattles on for like 2 or 3 minutes, saying the kind of nonsense that's starkly familiar to Hillary Clinton, only Hillary Clinton could actually speak. You think that Kamala, unburdened by what has been, is going to suddenly swing the Democrat Party into victory? I have my doubts. Well, up next, we're going to talk to Daniel Buck about a policy factor that has completely abandoned the Democrats, and that's education. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Tony Katz.
This is a Bluetooth banana phone, Matt Bear. Cord not necessary because it's the year 2024.
Fantastic.
You no longer need 2 cans and a string. It connects to your phone via Bluetooth, and that is how it works.
And it doesn't come in a bushel.
Bananas do not come in a bushel. They do come in a bunch. No one ever bought a bushel of bananas.
And nobody ever grew a banana tree. It doesn't mean it doesn't happen.
We went down a hole, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Tony Katz, mornings 6 to 9 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
We're going abroad for the first time in years. To Spain.
But we don't speak Spanish.
So we started using Babbel.
And started learning Spanish fast.
With Babbel, you can start having conversations in another language in just 3 weeks. Babbel's conversational method teaches you real-life words and phrases. And with Babbel's interactive bite-sized lessons, you'll remember what you learned.
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿De dónde eres?
¿De dónde eres?
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed with that goal in mind.
In just 3 weeks, we're starting to have conversations in Spanish.
Estoy muy emocionado para ir a España contigo.
Aw, he just said, I'm very excited to go to Spain with you. Nos vamos a divertir mucho.
And that means we're going to have a lot of fun.
Sí. Gracias, Babbel.
Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. Just go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Mike loves summer in Indy, but he hates to paint. So he called Rhino Shield.
Our home is basically a contemporary, and we just started noticing that the paint was just fading and just looked like garbage. We had received a postcard from Rhino Shield, and we decided to take a look at it.
Rhino Shield's formulated for our specific climate here in Indiana.
The process with Rhino Shield and their crew, they were just very conscientious. We had problems in the past with painters. They leave debris and everything. Well, we didn't have that with Rhino Shield.
Way better than paint, backed by a 25-year warranty. And right now, get the guaranteed protection of Rhino Shield for 10% off the regular price.
The thing about Rhino Shield, the heat gain has been reduced reduced, and we save $70 a month. You don't hear that about any type of paint.
Here's Rhino Shield's Shane Smith.
This offer is limited, so call me at 888-RHINO-41. That's 888-RHINO-41.
Don't paint.
Don't vinyl.
Go Rhino.
Paint your house again. Rhino Shield. Mother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance.
For your free quote, call SelectQuote at 1-800-457-6060. That's 1-800-457-6060. Or go to SelectQuote.com. 1-800-457-6060. That's 1-800-457-6060.
SelectQuote. We shop. You save. Full details on example policies at selectquote.com/commercials.
Hey, this is Spencer Thompson at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus. Are you in need of a new mattress, sofa, sectional, recliner, lift chair, even a big green egg? If so, then you're in luck. Now through Monday, it's our Made in the USA sale. We guarantee you the best price, best service, and free delivery on everything from Smith Brothers, Lazy Boy, Stearns & Foster, Pollywood, and more. Lowest prices of the year now through Monday only at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but finding those people can be a major hassle unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies candidates with the right skills, sends you great matches, then you can easily invite them to apply. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. See for yourself. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Teachers shape the future. Right now, in a classroom somewhere in the United States, there's a teacher inspiring a future scientist who'll make preventing pandemics their life's work, sharpening the mind of an aspiring environmentalist who'll help combat climate change, and generating possibilities for a student who'll be the first in their family to graduate college. Explore a career that leaves a legacy you can be proud of. Teach. Learn more and receive free support at teach.org.
You're listening to the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Back to the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC, joined by Daniel Buck from the Fordham Institute. Came scrolling across some great education takes over the last couple of days because, of course, in the midst of hearing Becky Pringle scream about unlimited power from the teachers' unions rally, it's nice to take a moment to step back and reflect on some genuine truths about how education has succeeded and failed in the last couple of decades. Buck, good evening.
Good evening, Tony. Thanks for having me on the show, as always.
It's a pleasure. So this one tweet that you had particularly, I had to bring you on to talk about because it resonated so much. It was one of those that you put your phone down and then you have to pick it back up and look at it a second time. And it is, quote, "The history of education for the last 30 years has involved replacing what works with what sounds good." And it is seriously one of the better takes that I've seen over the last couple of years because we really have lost so much to what is shiny and new, perhaps is a way to say it.
Yeah, that specific tweet was actually, it came about because of a math book that I was reading where this professor who was very impressed with himself recommended that this teacher who her students got good scores, kids liked her, parents liked her, admin liked her, but this professor said everything has to change. And he wants math teachers to no longer teach concepts and then have the kids practice them or memorize their math facts. And he just wants to basically give kids markers, have them stand at whiteboards that are around the room and figure math out for themselves. And it just blew my mind. Like, this teacher was really effective at what they do. We've been explaining new concepts to kids since the beginning of time.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we have to replace what has been working with this bonkers idea that you just came up with yesterday?
There was this concept of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, that's, the old, I would say, Midwestern middle class phrase of choice. It's something that for a very long time that we've held very true, nearly and dearly to our hearts. But yet when there's something about going to college and, getting in an education program, you waltz out of these institutions believing that you have the solution for all of these things that have worked perfectly fine without you. But you're going to come in and you're going to have this brand new, bold, fresh perspective like a breath mint commercial. And that suddenly kids everywhere are just going to turn the lights on because you taught them that they needed to feel their answer, not just practice math facts or phonics. They need to feel it, as though that's somehow no one's thought of that before you at this moment in 2020, whatever.
They're thinking with their feelings instead of with their actual head. And I like what you said about if it ain't broke, don't fix it. In this case, it is, if it ain't broke, well, we're going to go and break it. The other one that always comes up for me is basic discipline policies, where Johnny pushes Timmy and we say, well, maybe Johnny just needs a timeout. And they say, no. We need this really complex incentive system where we reward all of his. It's like, no. He's 6. He needs a timeout. No. We need to have a conversation with him. We need to dabble around with his psyche. It's
clear no one's just had the right conversation with him. If we walk him through the 12 steps of psychological analysis, and then we set up the, like you said, the incentive structure, where you get a piece of candy every time you don't clobber the kid sitting next to you, well, then that'll reform him and he'll be a well-functioning member of society because some goober from the University of Seattle said so. And then it doesn't work at all. It'd be one thing, I guess, if they replaced something that worked with something that worked just like not as well. But they're replacing things that work with things that don't even remotely work at all. And these liberal-leaning districts, especially in inner cities that are at the forefront of trying all of the bold, new, exciting ideas in education, it hasn't turned things around in any of the cases. I mean, my God, look at Baltimore. They've changed curriculum models 3 times in the last 15 years.
Well, part of the problem is that education is obsessed with innovation, largely because innovation sells and gets you tenure. If somebody comes along and says, no, what you've been doing is actually working pretty well. Give kids, detentions when they're misbehaving, explain concepts, and then give them a worksheet where they can practice whatever skill that you just taught them. That's boring. So no one's going to buy that book because it's not innovative. No professor is going to get tenure with coming up with this idea. No district is going to spend their millions of dollars that they have for consulting on somebody coming in and just re-explaining the basics. And so we obsessed over innovation, and innovation just doesn't fit here, right? We don't need to innovate past the family dinner. We don't need to innovate past like washing hands or regular exercise. We don't need to innovate in education past explaining concepts and giving timeouts to kids when they, misbehave, whatever it is.
It really is. In education should and realistically has been boiled down throughout human history to 3 simple steps. See the master doing it, attempt what the master is doing, be corrected by the master, and try again. Those are the 3.5 steps for how education should work. Realistically, that's the point. That's how your kids learn from you. That's how you learn from others. Monkey see, monkey do, monkey try again. That's the entire point. And I remember actually talking about this. I looked up one of the very first articles that actually you edited before I sent it into the Federalist. This was back in March 5th of 2021. And I remember us going over this article. It was called Don't Get Scammed by So-Called STEM Education. And it was the idea that in the school I was at the time at IPS, there were all of these salesmen that were coming in with all these shiny, bright, plastic, neon-colored toys that they said, oh, your kids will learn to code. And not only will they learn to code, it'll improve their English skills and their writing and their math and their history. And it was like this wonder product. And, just for the measly subscription service fee of $250,000 per year, your District 2 can enter the Space Information Super Age. And they're just cheap, crappy toys. And I mean, that's over in my field, over in the STEM area. This is back when I was more of a devotee of project-based learning than I am now. And it's just very weird to see, it's not 2014 anymore. It's 10 years past 2014. There have been decades, as you put, 30 years of trying this stuff. Where are the results?
The new stuff never works.
Well,
because rarely works. But I was going to say, because human nature doesn't change. Like you said.
Let's put an asterisk in that, though. Because what many will say is they'll point to suburban school in a wealthy area, right? And they'll say, well, and you and I were in the same, I believe it was a conservative education reform network call, in which an individual said this, well, I mean, it works over here. After all, my son goes to this really nice area school, and it works wonderfully. Yes, I mean, students who are at the top of their class, who are very talented, you could pretty much throw them to the wolves, and they would probably do very well in whatever system you put them in. You can probably explain that one better than I can.
I mean, I've worked in urban and affluent schools, and I often said when I was in the affluent school that a squirrel could have been the principal, and the system would have functioned well because parents were so involved. If their kids misbehave and you called home, that kid had their phone taken away. They were, grounded for a week. Like, there was just so much support around this school that, yes, anything is going to work there. I have read so many education research studies that prove X, Y, or Z innovation works. And what it amounts to is one professor asked one teacher to implement it well and to implement their crazy idea in a classroom. And well, the kids seem to vibe with it and they seem to like it. And so that's evidence that this is going to work in every district, in every school across the country. And like you said, that's just not where we're going to get case studies where these things are going to be challenged. They're not going to prove if any of these innovations are actually scalable outside of, a rich suburb in Connecticut.
That's really the word that you used, that the kid vibed with it. That now also boils down to education is a soft science, by the way, just as a quick clarification, those who are tuning in. It's a soft science. That means that because you are messing around with the human mind, human input, and the vast amount of difference between each and every one of us, you cannot put the same things in every time and get the same things out. It is not verifiable, justifiable, quantifiable science. It's a soft science. You can get close. You can try your best. There's not an exact answer that's going to work for each and every kid, every time, all the time, period. And the reason that matters here is because instead of getting as close to the each and every time answer as we can, like the methods that have worked for all of human history, instead we've put entire study groups, millions upon millions of dollars into research products and projects where the only data that is taken is not quantitative data, but qualitative data. So that instead of asking someone, well, how did you do on these 4 tests? Instead, the questions asked are, how did you feel when you were taking these 4 tests? Or as you said, the student was vibing with it. Like, well, the student felt good about what they were doing. And feelings becomes the only metric for success. Well, wait a minute. What if we actually set the metric of success on if they can actually accomplish the things that they need to know and do?
I think this explains a lot of the fascination in the past few years with classical education. Mm-hmm. I was speaking with one parent who founded a classical school near me, and she started it because she saw her district bought the latest STEM thing, and her kids were learning all of their math and science on online software programs. They weren't actually being taught by their teacher. And people are seeing all of these innovations, all of this tech, all of this stuff, and they want to go back to basics. They want to go back to
what works.
Handwritten notes, sitting down, reading a good book together, talking about it, memorizing your math facts, the kinds of things that work. And that's why people are looking towards these traditional, what we used to think of as stuffy things like classical education, because parents are kind of sick of the innovation, and they're seeing that it's not working with their kids, that it's resulting in chaos, that it's resulting in mediocrity, and all of those things.
Well said. Daniel Buck, too far short a time for us to get to chat about these things on the air. So I'll see you next week up at the RNC, man. Keep Milwaukee warm for me.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
We'll be back in just a second. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC.
Hi, this is Denny Smith, and July is National Carpet Cleaning Month, and for good reason. They really ought to call it Clean Your Filters Month, because your carpets are the largest filter in your home, and right now they are probably loaded with pollen and dirt and dander and who knows what else, and it takes a professional to get them clean. How about having Zero Res help you take on all of that with a great July special? Get 3 rooms Zero Resified starting at just $129 and get a 4th room free, which is a $115 saving and $75 off air duct cleaning too. The Zero Res service is easy to line up. You can go online at zeroresindy.com to do the scheduling at your convenience. And don't forget the ZR water difference. No soap, no residue, no harsh chemicals, leaving things really clean. Now mention WIBC and get 3 rooms of carpet cleaning starting at $129, plus you'll get a 4th room free and $75 off air duct cleaning too. Call 317-388-5141 or book things online at zeroresindy.com.
Thanks for calling Discover. This is Diego.
Hi, Diego. It's Jennifer Coolidge. I just want to say your cashback match makes me feel so special. It really inspired me.
That's great. Doubling the cashback you've earned at the end of your first year is what we do.
Well, I'm doubling everything now. Double dating, double dipping, double feature, double header, double whammy. Basically double or nothing.
You earn, we match. Discover Cashback Match. See terms at discover.com/creditcard.
Community Health Network cares for your heart health. From heart scans and vascular screenings to complex heart procedures, you can count on our expert team for the highest quality cardiovascular care, when and where you need it. Your path to a healthy heart starts with knowing your risk. Schedule a heart scan or vascular screening today. Visit ecommunity.com/heart. Community Health Network. Exceptional care. Simply delivered.
When life spells heartburn, how do you spell relief? ROLAIDS.
What about when life spells fried chicken?
ROLAIDS.
4th cup of coffee?
Still ROLAIDS.
Extra cheesy pizza?
Rolaids always spells relief. Rolaids' powerful dual-active formula begins neutralizing acid on contact to fight your heartburn fast. So, when life spells heartburn, Rolaids spells relief. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. We leave no warrior behind. Wounded Warrior Project is a non-profit organization created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war. Whether those scars are physical or mental, we're here to make sure that they heal. And whether it's helping those with post-traumatic stress disorder live a normal life again, or giving much-needed support to injured warriors in veterans' hospitals. Because no one deserves our help more than the men and women who risk their lives to keep us safe. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
This time next week, I'll be sick in bed with West Nile virus, thanks to a mosquito bite right in front of my house.
In 8 minutes, my daughter will be in an ambulance, having an asthma attack, triggered by cockroaches.
I'm going to be bitten by a tick today, and I won't even know it until Lyme disease turns my life upside down.
Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org. A public service message from the National Pest Management Association and the CDC.
B Window is celebrating our independence with $400 off per window, $250 off per patio and entry door, plus 12 months same as cash. Go to bwindow.com for more.
This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93.1 FM out of Indianapolis. The live streams on YouTube and Twitter X, the podcast everywhere else. Starting this segment with some breaking news just out from the Washington Post, as well as from where I saw it over at the Associated Press. The Democrat Senator Welch from Vermont has now become the first U.S. senator on the Democrat side of the aisle who is calling for President Joe Biden to withdraw from his bid for re-election. So that's Vermont Senator Peter Welch, first Senate Democrat. And this really is the dam bursting at this point. This is the point where I would suggest that when you have, again, it started out with 1 House Democrats, then 7 or 8 House Democrats, and then it comes out with more and more and more and more. Donors are pulling out. Biden is slipping very quickly in the polls, and Trump is gaining momentum because Trump's one weakness, which is that he suffers the same weakness that a lot of people on the GOP side of the aisle do, which is that they snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. In the middle of a crisis for the left, the right loves to get out there, shove its foot way down into its mouth. And the left has been desperately trying in the media over the last couple of weeks, especially Democrats on the Hill, to suggest insidious evil regarding the Project 2025. Ooh. And I've seen some amazing posts about it. And given that I happen to have the Project 2025 mandate for leadership right here, I've read through a lot of this, not all of it, but I've read through a lot of it. And I'm not finding any of the stuff that they're saying is in here. Some of the stuff is so incredible, I'm surprised Michael Bay hasn't used it as a set piece on one of his explosive movies. As far as the fact-checking agencies and the media agencies that are trying very desperately to make Project 2025 the focal point of this election, it ain't working. Because Americans are no longer paying attention to what they consider to be the twisting narrative of things that voters should be concerned about. And the demise of trust in legacy media institutions doesn't just come in anchor coverage. It just doesn't. Anchor coverage is going to be biased. People have known anchor coverage has been a biased thing all the way back into the 60s and 70s. That's part of the trade. But when it comes to openly putting yourself in front of the public as a fact checker, like Reuters, like PolitiFact, like Verify, like Snopes, and on and on and on, when you very blatantly press your hand down on the scale to ensure that one side is fact-checked in one way and the other side is fact-checked in another, you get a very erosion level pulling away from the trust of your movement. And that's really where we're at. So I want to take you through a few of the ways that fact checkers in just the last couple of weeks have shredded their credibility to the point that now no one even cares what they have to say regarding what the fact check organizations think Trump did or didn't say, or what some conservative organizations did or didn't do, because they have completely screwed the pooch. And it started in earnest in the last couple of weeks with the cheap fake videos nonsense. So PolitiFact ran this one forward as hard as it could. So they decided to make the claim that there were these videos of President Joe Biden that Republicans, mainstream Republicans, were circulating that were either selectively edited or taken out of context to, quote, undermine his mental and physical fitness and have inundated social media and are the subject of political spin. Well, it's not looking like that anymore now, is it? And unfortunately for the organization PolitiFact, people happen to remember that they were behind this cover-up. They tried to claim that Karine Jean-Pierre goofing up and using the term cheap fake instead of deep fake, that it isn't new. Oh, misinformation researchers coined it in 2019. Oh, it's been around for a long time. People are not buying it. This came at full force in situations like in the debates, and how fact-checking organizations over the last couple of years, and really reaching a climax point this year from the State of the Union through Trump's rallies, and then culminating in the first presidential debate between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, how they chose to fact-check statements made by both. It's a presidential campaign. So that means that you not only, and by the way, it's a presidential campaign uniquely between two incumbents, meaning that you're going to have characterization of your opponent, characterization of how you think your first term meant, and also characterization of where you think your opponent is going. Those are opinions. Yet, when it comes to the fact-checking organizations like the Associated Press, the rules change. So on the debate stage in Atlanta, Trump said he wants to raise your taxes by 4 times. He said that about Biden. The Associated Press, however, swooped in and says, fact check, that's not accurate. Trump has used that line in rallies, but it has no basis in fact. Biden actually wants to prevent tax increases on anyone making less than $400,000, which is the vast majority of taxpayers. Now, do they actually cite anything that shows Biden enacting those policies? No, their sources, well, Biden said actually he wants to lower taxes. Yeah, there are no politicians other than maybe Bernie Sanders who have walked out in front of everyone and said, I'm going to raise taxes. That's not fact-checking. That's, I don't like what Trump said. And it gets worse. So we all remember the Trump bloodbath comments where Trump referred to the economic bloodbath if the American auto industry was basically sold off to China. And yet, again, PBS and other government-funded organizations still, to this day, are trying to claim that Trump has called for some type of bloodbath, crime, violence, whereas Biden has now called for Trump to be put, quote, squarely in the bullseye, end quote, and yet that's totally fine. The New York Times had a very selective level of fact-checking regarding the debates. So Trump said, quote, you look at the cost of food where it's doubled, tripled, and quadrupled, end quote. And then the New York Times said, false. They haven't doubled, tripled, or quadrupled. The food at home inflation index that tracks grocery prices is only up about 20%. Yet there are fast food restaurants, including McDonald's and Taco Bell, that during the administration of Joe Biden, as well as several other food items, have indeed doubled and tripled in price. So he's not wrong. Just don't like what he has to say. Whereas when Biden made claims like black unemployment is the lowest level it's been in a long time, or Trump is the only president other than Herbert Hoover who's lost more jobs than when he began, or Biden's claim about Donald Trump at the World War II cemetery. Of course, Biden actually originally said a World War I cemetery, even though the New York Times didn't really note that. They said, well, that's not false. These just need context. And this comes to the last erosion of trust in the fact-checking organizations. When you stop rating claims as true and false, and you start saying, well, it actually needs context because Biden really meant it from the heart. It was very good. Well, now you start to characterize the motivations of the individuals rather than citing whether or not a statement is true or false. And so, no, the claims made about Trump or Agenda 47 or Project 2025 or swing state polls or future policies are not going to be given weight by the American public when fact-checkers report on them because they have shredded their trust and credibility. And no matter how hard Jake Tapper on CNN or the other anchors across the left try to now double back and say they were shocked that Biden was dead all along, no. We can rewind our DVRs, click back on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, whatever, and find the videos of you saying the exact opposite and not just saying, well, we don't see any evidence for this. You say it is a lie. It's a cheap, deep edit fake. How dare these fascists do so? And so you've lost all credibility, and you have done so in a very deserving fashion. Up next, we're going to wind things down just a little bit. Don't go anywhere. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Kendall and Casey.
Okay, so you ever go into Cracker Barrel and think,
who are the old-timey photos? That's a great question. They're just a stock of some Cracker Barrel warehouse where it's like, we have 93 photos of Maud from Santa Fe, New Mexico, sitting on a porch.
Right, store 78 needs something in the left wing. Ship it out.
Kendall and Casey, weekdays 9 till noon on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Greetings from R&R Agency, your Indiana health insurance pros. And a thank you to our loyal customers for making our agency a national sales leader for the 7th straight year. We recently saved a family of 4 over $500 monthly when compared to their ACA plan. You know it's still Obamacare, right? We've recently saved a 61-year-old retiring couple over $600 when compared to their COBRA plan. Breaking news. We are now able to offer health insurance to employer groups of all sizes with 2 of the largest insurers in the Midwest. We'll be here when you need us. Quoting my favorite president, what the heck do you have to lose? We can help. As always, God bless America, or at least what's left of her.
Call Ron or Terry at 317-563-0868. That's 317-563-0868. Or go to rragency.org. That's rragency.org. A health plan managed and chosen by you. not the government.
Join Mark Patrick seminars and stop smoking now without cravings, irritability, weight gain, or your money back.
Totally changed my life.
It's amazing. I don't have any cravings. You want to quit, but have found it impossible? This is the thing for you. I have absolutely no craving. It's the darndest thing I have ever seen in my life.
It's not for entertainment. It's for results.
Do it. It works. Period.
You've tried everything else. You need to come and try this.
Early bird special, only $49.99 guaranteed. No irritability, no cravings, because don't just cut down, but stop smoking once and for all. In addition, use hypnosis to lose all the weight and destroy unwanted cravings. Seminars Thursday, July 25th at the Holiday Inn Indianapolis Airport. Weight loss seminar 5:30 p.m. Stop smoking seminar 8 p.m. Or Saturday, July 27th at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites Indianapolis Northeast and Noblesville. Weight loss seminar 11 a.m. Stop smoking seminar 2 p.m. Sign up at markpatrickseminars.com. That's markpatrickseminars.com.
Garage door problems? Call today for service today. Garage Doors of Indianapolis services all makes of garage doors 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Call today for service today. 875-4577. Call today for service today. Get it fixed right now. Call Garage Doors of Indianapolis at 875-4577 or visit doorstoday.com.
In the morning, call 875-4577.
Service today?
Today.
Hey, Pat Sullivan here, letting you know that Hope Plumbing is bringing back an amazing offer. For a limited time, Hope Plumbing will buy back your old water heater for $1,000 with the installation of a tankless water heater. So if having endless hot showers and saving money on your gas bill is on your summer to-do list, call my friends at Hope Plumbing and get your tankless water heater installed today. HopePlumbing.com.
The Phone Ready quiz from the American Academy of Pediatrics will help you decide if you and your child are ready for their first phone. Go to healthychildren.org/phone ready quiz.
You want to listen all day to WIBC, but you don't always have time. Don't worry. There's a podcast for that. The WIBC Mashup. Daily highlights from your favorite hosts, Tony Katz, Kendall and Casey, and Hammer and Nigel. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
I had a very fun experience this morning. So for those of you that do not know, although I really do enjoy occasionally whenever I appear on some kind of media or there's someone out there who wants to act very big, I'll get a message on social media by an amateur Googler who, I guess to intimidate me, will try to give me my address, but they don't actually give me my address. They give me the address to the WIBC studios in downtown Indianapolis, which, in addition to being a very secure building, is not where I do the show from. But that means that, you know, I don't always have the super ultra backup amazing grid power. And so this morning, I was working diligently doing the undercover scoop reporting you all know and love me for. And I lost power just like that, like many around the Hoosier State. These storms sweeping through. Allison, did you lose power?
No, I was actually very lucky. I did not, knock on wood.
So I don't know if you're in an area where you lose power consistently, but here in eastern central Indiana, where at least I am, a lot of us do lose power from time to time. You know, it just so happens in this windy little area that we know and love. How do you get through a power outage? Because I realized after looking at a few comments from some friends of mine that everyone goes through power outages very differently. What's your go-to?
If I'm honest, so if the weather's okay, where it's, you know, I have dogs, so I want to make sure they're not overheated or too cold. So take care of the pets, but then honestly, I'll just go to bed. There's nothing really to do. I'm just gonna go to bed, sleep, and hopefully wake up with all of the alarms going off.
I respect that. I've discovered I'm kind of more the pyro. So whenever there's a power outage, I to my wife's perhaps amusement, I light every candle in our house, and also a lantern. Like one of those old miner lamps that I have, because
of course
I'm
you do.
A quirky conservative. Yeah, I know, a real shocker. And I don't know, there's just something about lighting a bunch of candles and such. That's just fun for me. So there are the pyros. And then you have the book people. And the book people have decided that what you need to do is you get the blanket and you wrap it all around, and then you get next to the window. So I guess this really only works if it's a power outage during the day. If it's at night, then I don't know what you're going to do. And then they just read away the power outage. And that sounds just lovely and amazing, and I guess, or whatever. It was our first power outage of any length today with kids. And so my daughter did decide that today was the time to practice her evil laughter. She's like, you know, a 2.5-year-old, and she was like cackling loudly while her mother was trying to put our son like down for a nap. So I don't know if there's a category of people who get through power outages by cackling. I don't know.
Just laughing and going insane.
I guess the sunlight schizophrenics or whatever. I don't know. That's just wild stuff right there. And then there's another category of people that I have written down here, and it's the snobs. It's the better than you. So there are some people that have their own private generators. They have maybe the solar panels in the battery, and they love power outages, especially at night, because they walk out onto their porches that they can't afford because of all the money they spent on their solar panels and batteries. And they look around at all of the dark homes and they go, peasants, my house is the only one with lights on for miles.
And they have every light on just because they can.
Apparently, though, this is when most of the house fires take place. According to data from the Chicago Fire Department, most of the house fires that occurred in the last year occurred during power outages, in which people discovered that their inverters that kick on when the power's off so that their solar panels and batteries can keep the house active, were not hooked up correctly. They'd been scammed, or they had an inexperienced contractor, and so a couple of houses caught on fire. And yeah, not a good time to find out that your electrician really didn't do a good job. So I don't know if there are any other. I guess this is the point where a creator or a show host would say, hey, shoot us an email of what kind of power outage person you are. I really don't care. No offense. I mean,
unless you're a doomsday person, I would love to hear about your bunker.
Okay, yeah, if you're a doomsday prepper, you don't need to wait for a segment to tell me about what it is that you do. I want to hear about your doomsday prepper setup. Preppers are awesome. They're self-sufficient. They have a ton of ammunition and silver coinage, which is the way every American should be. Messages about your doomsday prepping. I got to hear about these. Send me the coolest ways you have to get through the looting, the rioting, and worst of all, the lack of internet. We'll be back just a little bit more tomorrow. This is the Tony Kinnicast on 93 WIBC.
It's hot out there, and if you're tired of paying high utility bills every month because your home AC keeps running, it's because